am the 2023 chair of the Professional Development Committee at the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association. I am thrilled to see so many of you guys here. Today we have two outstanding presenters joining us as we discuss working with clients with special needs. Unfortunately, Mike Donnelly was not feeling well and was unable to attend. However, his partner, Vinny Venipol, Venigopol, was able to attend in his place and he is with Vinny's Total Home Care. We are thrilled to have Vinny here and a barrier-free contractor from Naples, and John Young with Remax Realtor from the Metro Washington, D.C. area here to join us today. We'd like to thank both of you for taking your time to come here and join us. I would now like to call Jesse Gonzalez to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody would please stand.
Hello everyone. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of those that have served us and the military and the veterans we have in the house. Thank you. Sorry, losing my voice.
Thank you, Ms. Jessie. At this time, we would like to acknowledge a few distinguished individuals. Do we have any military, retired, or active? If so, would you please stand to be recognized? Thank you guys for your service. We would also like to recognize the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association leaders at this time. Do we have any board of directors with us today? Nope. Moving on. At this time, we're going to go ahead and start the lunch buffet, so please help yourselves, and we will begin the presentations at promptly about 12:15. Thank you guys for serving as our members. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed lunch and had an opportunity to meet some new folks. Let's go ahead and get started. First, we've got Vinny.
No, you go try it.
Mr. Vinny. We're just going to go with Mr. Vinny. So thank you. Let's welcome Mr. Vinny.
So Mike Donnelly, the much better looking one of a partnership in our company, was unable to come today, but I just kind of I'm going to take it a little off balance of what he wanted me to talk about and just kind of give you guys an idea of our journey and how it really hits the special needs and the construction and the business side of kind of what we created. And all of this happened, to give you a background on Mike real quick, Mike's been building homes since 2002. He's built well over 260 homes. 60 of those homes were accessible barrier-free homes, which we'll talk about. And hopefully, my point behind talking about what I'm going to talk about is you guys as realtors out there, you have an idea of maybe other things to look for in a house to maybe sell the home or find a reason why one of your buyers should have an accessible barrier-free home. And again, we also retrofit homes. So as we talk about this, hopefully you keep that in mind. So when Mike started building these accessible barrier-free homes, he got to the point where he kind of had an epiphany, I guess, and he said, you know what, I'm not going to do this for the money anymore. He goes, I live my life chasing the money, trying to get the deal, get this, and et cetera, et cetera. He goes, I'm going to start doing something a little different. So he really got passionate about building homes that really hit a lot of different verticals, right? So as an example, the senior space, the mobility space, even temporary fix on homes. So we're really thinking big picture. And the goal behind the big picture is because everything, as you know, is customized. You want to customize everything, and if we can at least give a layout through our homes, you guys as realtors and their interior designers, etc., can make it a house. But our goal is to make it a house where people can live and feel independent and feel safe. and really grow into with any circumstances in mind that might hit them along the way. So back to the houses, thanks for listening to all that. Back to the houses is, zero entry doorways as an example. So from the curb, and when I say from the curb, literally from the mailbox out there to the curb, the street, all the way up to the house, our homes are zero entry. So there's no lip on the garage door as an example. When you walk into the house, there's no curb or steps in it. You walk right into the house. It's 36-inch doorways as you walk in. So if you walk around with a measuring tape with your customers, 36-inch doorways is enough to get a wheelchair in. You can go bigger. Hallways as an example. I mean, I'm a big 60-inch hallway guy because that actually allows a wheelchair to do a full independent circle. So something to think about if you're ever looking at retrofitting a home. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, another thing that's very independent is kind of what we were thinking and using that word, going into the bathroom. The bathroom is an important place where you want to wash your face, you want to use the restroom, you want to take a shower. So examples that we built in the house is we already set them up for grab bars. We set them up for the chairs that you might want to put in the bathroom. Anything that you can think of with regards to universal design as well. So a sink. So a sink might look like a normal sink to you, and there's nothing that you would think anything, but if you open the cabinets, you can actually roll under sinks, right, is what I'm saying. But we can make them really pretty. So those are all part of the home features. Then you kind of get into the kitchen. So when you're into the kitchen, as an example, you'll have your microwave, your kitchen. So we make everything accessible to the height of a wheelchair. But again, we don't have to. It's a customizable home, right? So we understand that because we learned with outlets. Other wheelchairs and people's arms are different. They're different lengths, different sizes. So we learned that lesson where we changed our plans, and the outlets are customizable. If you want them 24 inches or the regular 18 inches, we can move them for you, as well as light switches. We can also move those down. So these are things that, again, I'm just going to give you retrofit ideas, right, as you guys are out there selling. So, another mobility challenge, we'll say, issue is washer dryer. So ones on pedestals are always nice. Those are the ones to look for if people are into their, my wife, she loves her washer dryer room. I don't know, she spends too much time in there. Just being able to get into that door. So pocket doors, think of that too. If you can get these 36-inch pocket doors going forward. Trying to give you some other things to think about. As Mike started building all this, the first thing, as Mike and I met, I looked at him and I was like, dude, who's going to take care of all that? I was like, I have a house now, and I was like, I had to start a company in order to take care of my house at this point. And he's like, well, let's start talking about that. So then during this whole building process, so again, let me go back to the houses. If you guys want to learn more about the houses, even how to do it yourself, retrofitting a bathroom, if you go to my website and then the downloads, Mike has created awesome articles and PowerPoints that you guys can download for free. So it has all of this information, all the ADA requirements on a house and there are no ADA requirements on a house, but any of the requirements that you guys can think of. If you just go to the website downloads, you'll learn a lot about that. You can easily find more Mike Donnelly as well on YouTube. So if you do have an option to go there, just definitely jump on YouTube and do accessible barrier-free homes. One of the things that Mike and I do is we also train. I'm going a little faster because I know my time's here, but on the Knowledgeable Aging website, if you guys haven't heard of that, I highly recommend it. It's actually created by a realtor who has built a full knowledgeable aging. So it's also mobility, and I bring that up because mobility is a big part here. So when you hear the aging part, don't let it fool you. There's a lot of mobility information on construction. Mike and I teach people how to open doorways, all free. Everything's out there, so definitely take a look at that if you're inclined to. We created Vinny's Total Home Care, which is a maintenance package, right? So who's going to take care of these houses at the end of it? So we have a maintenance package, the subscription package that we do, and it's 100% to come into the house and maintain the home, whether it's air filters, light bulbs, batteries, just things that should always be working or at least checked on. And we also work with budgets, so there's an affordability concept here, and that's really where Mike and I's passion is. We understand people don't have the means to do a lot of things nowadays, especially with home prices, etc. So as realtors, I know the market is what it is. So like you can grow substantially in the space in what we're building. And I say that with the respect that becoming rentable is a website like VRBO. And if you go to it, you'll learn that only 200 homes in this whole country are actually accessible, barrier-free, legit homes, right? So, with that said, that's what we're doing right now. We already know there's a market for it. It's sustained. 2025, you guys have heard. If not, the silver tsunami is going to start kicking in. By 2035, we're going to hit. There's going to be 78% of this population is over the age of 65. So, kind of, take that to thought. I would say, and just if there's anything we can do to give you guys more information. Anything I can do personally to help anyone out there. We hired our first employee, which I'm really proud of, and I'll finish with this. His name is Garrett. He's got cerebral palsy, and we got him, and he's in a wheelchair. And I look at Mike. I'm like, man, this is such an opportunity that we got. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, we get to practice what we preach. I was like, here's our opportunity. Garrett now runs our marketing in our company. He makes videos. He is an advocate on top of advocates for anything special needs with the city, with the codes. He's in West Palm. Met him one day on video, and the next day I see him in person. It was just amazing. It's gotten to the point where I don't know, not even an employee. He's like more of like, a buddy that you talk to about all your business stuff, and he goes back and gives you all these marketing ideas, and the stuff that he's done with our videos has just been incredible. And our goal that Mike and I are really proud of, because this what we're trying to do is educate, is that we've given him a tool that he's unbelievable at, that he can live anywhere in the world. And that is independence to me. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Vinny. Our next presenter is John Young. John Young is a top RE/MAX realtor in the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area and a graduate of the Maryland Realtors Leadership Academy. John graduated from the University of Florida and began his career working in advertising for the New York Times Company. He transitioned into the pharmaceutical industry, and in 2004, he merged his previous work experience and skills into a career as a realtor. In 2009, his personal and professional life was forever altered when he and his wife became the parents of a child with nonverbal autism. In 2019, John began speaking nationally on serving clients with special needs and the importance of helping others. He has spoken at NAR's conference and Expo Celebration and at many state associations and conferences. This year, John was proud to have been chosen to serve on NAR's Diversity Committee. John brings his passion for helping others to everything he does and strives to make a positive difference in our industry for both clients and fellow realtors. In his spare time, he enjoys playing guitar, collecting autographs and music memorabilia, and spending time with his family. Please join me in welcoming John Young.
How it always happens in real estate, right? Okay. And if you all don't mind, I always feel weird standing behind a podium, so I'm probably going to grab this microphone and move around a little bit. My wife says I'm like hyperactive, but that's just me. So yes, so my name is John Young. I really appreciate you having me here, come here today. I want to thank Angie, Angela, Judith, and Erica, and Royal Palm. I really enjoy giving this talk, and I thank you because this is not a sexy topic, right? This is not something that's gonna like grow your business to 30 million a year or something. So you really are here because you care about this topic, I'm sure. So I really appreciate your attendance today. And as you can see, this is not a glamour shot picture from like 1986. This is actually me. So, all right, so a little bit about me. So I'm a realtor for RE/MAX Excellence Realty in the greater Washington, D.C. metro area. As they mentioned, I am a 2023 NAR Diversity Committee member. I was very happy to be selected for that. You're wondering, like, what is a white guy doing on the Diversity Committee, right? I am there representing a lot of people who are underrepresented, the people with autism, people with disabilities, and I will tell you, we have accomplished a lot this year. We made it so that the board of directors passed that anyone that sits in a leadership position at NAR now has to have their At Home with Diversity designation. They have to do Fair Haven, and they have to have their bias override. Because we don't want people in our industry that don't represent the best of who we are. So I'm very proud to say that we passed that this year. So I'm also heavily involved. I'm a regional vice president for the Residential Real Estate Council. Is there anyone here that is a CRS? Okay, nice to see you. Thanks for coming. It's done a lot for my business. I don't want to be a commercial for the RRC, but it's a great organization that I'm very proud to be a part of. I'm a national speaker and, as they mentioned, an autism dad. So, I want to start off with a quiz. Special needs clients are A, clients with physical challenges, B, clients with a learning disability or impairment, C, clients with an emotional or behavioral disability or impairment, D, A, B, and C, or E, everyone. So, how many people think it's D? Raise your hand. All right, how many people think it's E? All right, it's interesting. I knew a lot of people were going to raise their hand when I said it was E. But the actual answer is D. And I know why people think that it's E. Because the people that we work with, don't all of our clients have special needs, right? We got to have a pool in the backyard. We've got to have, a 3-car garage because my husband works on his, Dodge Charger or something like that. But the Merriam-Webster definition of special needs is any of various difficulties such as physical, emotional, behavioral, or learning disability or impairment that causes an individual to require additional or specialized services or accommodations, such as in education or recreation. So try to change your mindset, right, about what a special need actually is. Because yes, we do have clients that need that 3-car garage, but we're focusing today on the people with disabilities and true special needs. So when I started in real estate, I knew that there was a book out there called Success as a Real Estate Agent for Dummies, right? The whole series on this. And I thought, well, maybe there's a book called Serving Clients with Special Needs for Dummies, right? Anybody seen this book? No. You know why? Because it doesn't exist. And the reason it doesn't exist is because if you know anything about special needs, it would not be one book, it would be a library of books that would take your entire lifetime to read. Because if you know anyone with a special need or have a family member, your situation is completely different to anyone else's. So what Vinny said is, he said, we're working with a client that has cerebral palsy, and now they're working with us, and we get to interact with them every day. And right before our talk, I said, the funny thing is, you meet your next client with cerebral palsy, their challenges are going to be different. There are going to be some things that overlap, of course, but there are going to be a lot of things that are unique and different to them. And being the parent of a child with autism, I will tell you, it is like being at Disneyland and being stuck in Adventureland every day, right? Now the difference is, if you go to Disney and you're in Adventureland and the park is kind of overwhelming and you get sensory overload, you can leave the park. My wife and I can't leave the park. And if you are have a family member with special needs, you're kind of stuck in Adventureland every day. So keep that in mind when you work with those clients. Now I mentioned that I'm a CRS agent. And you probably saw the cover in the very beginning, where I was on the cover of that magazine. I want to tell you a personal story that happened with me. So the RRC had a contest, and they said, you could be on the cover of our magazine. We're looking for a referral story, kind of a feel-good referral story, right? We want to feature somebody. So, oops, sorry, I skipped a little too fast. So I had this story, and I thought, well, I want to share this story. This is a pretty good story. It had just happened. This is back in like 2018, where a realtor called me up from Pennsylvania, and he said, I have some clients I want to refer to you. And he said, but I got to be honest, they're going to be challenging. Now, we hear that all the time, right? You always have a challenging referral, right? So what I was thinking is, okay, and I knew it was a couple. I thought, well, the wife is going to want a house that looks like this, right? Victorian house, porch, wraparound porch. The husband's going to want a contemporary house, right? That's what I was thinking he meant by challenging. And then I thought, well, maybe the wife wants a garden that looks like this, beautiful garden, flowers, nicely manicured grass, but the husband wants to mow this, right? So that's an actual place. That is the world's smallest front yard in Venice Beach, California. All right. So anyway, I had set an appointment to go meet with these clients, and I was sitting in a coffee shop, and I was waiting for them to come in, and when they walked in the room, I knew immediately why he said they were going to be challenging. The woman, Juliet, was in a wheelchair, and I found out later it was the result of scleroderma, fibromyalgia, and juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Her partner was on the autism spectrum. So we sat down, and I had my clipboard, I had my intake sheet, and I was writing down all the amenities and things they were looking for. They were living in a cramped 2-bedroom condo. They didn't have enough space in their place for a caregiver. They just had outgrown their place. Anyway, I'm writing down all their needs and wants, and they were extensive. They said they needed to be near a metro so that Juliet could get to work. She was working full-time in downtown DC. They wanted to be near shopping and entertainment. And she said, I want a place that I feel like when I go to work, Corey, her partner, is going to be comfortable. So I don't have to worry about him getting in trouble or something happening. So, my mind's racing. I'm writing all this stuff down. And she said, oh, wait, there's one other thing. It'd be great if it had an elevator and a pool. All right. So I said, what's your budget? Have you talked to a lender? Yes, we talked to a lender. Our budget's like $525,000. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with the Washington, D.C. metro market. That was like $1 million home in D.C., right? So, of course, when they said that, my mind's racing, as we all do, right? I'm trying to think, where can I find them a place? Where am I going to be able to find them something that suits their needs? I was actually thinking, God, this is going to be impossible. And she said to me, there's one other thing I have to ask you, because we've worked with agents before, and we didn't really get very far. It's really important. It's the most important thing. I'll tell you what she said to me next is something I will never forget. She put her hand on mine, and she looked right at me, and she said, are people like us a waste of time? Yeah. And I don't know if you hearing me say that right now had the same effect as it had on me when I heard it, but I couldn't believe what I had just heard, right? And, my knee-jerk reaction is of course you're not a waste of time. Don't worry, we're going to find you a place. It's all going to be good, right? But I couldn't believe it. And we finished up our conversation. I went back to my car and I cried. And one of the reasons why I cried is, number one, I could not believe anybody could feel that way, right? That no one would help them, that they felt like they were on an island to themselves. But I also thought about my own daughter, Chloe, who is 14 now, who's nonverbal. And I thought, one day my wife and I are not going to be here for her, and I hope that no one looks at her and thinks she's a waste of time. So, we got started on our search. And it was like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? We found places that had everything they needed, but were way over their budget. We found other places that were within their budget, but didn't have enough of what they needed. And we had exhausted every possibility that we could in the MLS. I reached out to every agent friend that I had. I put messages out on social media. We ran out of things to look at. And it was around this time that Juliet called me up and she said, we've been thinking about this. We didn't realize this was going to be this hard. She said, we have a plan B if it doesn't work out. And I said, what is it? She said, well, we're going to move back to Pennsylvania. And I said, you would give up your job and move back to Pennsylvania? And she said, no, we're going to live in Pennsylvania and I'm going to commute over 3 hours to work every day. And I said, that's not happening, right? So we stepped up our game, we looked everywhere we could, and we ran out of options again. Now, I'm not a very religious person, right? But sometimes things happen by divine intervention.
That's right.
And right around this time, we had run out of options for a second time. My business partner called me up and he said, you know, I live in a condo not far from where they are now, and I know they're already familiar with the neighborhood. It's near a metro. It's got everything they want. He said, but there are no places for sale here yet. And the very next day, a 3-bedroom condo came up in that unit and in the development. We showed them the condo. It had everything they wanted. It had that 3rd bedroom they needed for their caregiver. It was near Metro. It was near shopping and entertainment. They were already familiar with the neighborhood. And guess what? It even had an elevator and a pool. Yep. How's that? So, they were in a very dark place in their lives. But here they are on the day of settlement. And I'll tell you what, when I handed them the keys to their new home, they cried. And this story, and not my daughter's story, you would think, here's a guy who's got a daughter with autism. I was living in that world. But this story is what made me say to myself, you know what? I want to talk about this. And I want to communicate this story to the people that are out there to help special needs people. Because there are a lot of people just like Juliet and Corey out there that need our help. And that story was the story that landed me on the cover of that magazine. And you know what? When that happened, the person in my life that was the most proud was, of course, my mother, who is or was a real estate agent. She's retired now. She was a realtor in Florida. And actually, she worked for Coldwell Banker, Remax, ERA. Remember ERA?
Yes.
And my mom was understandably very proud. And by the way, I want to pause here for a second. I was going to say, if you could take out your phone and take a picture of me standing here with my mom up on the screen, that'd be great. And then I could email it to her and say, Mom, see, look, got another reason to be proud. Want to take a quick picture? Okay. I'll give you my email later. All right, but the people that I hope were the most proud of me were Juliet and Corey for the compassion, responsibility, and service that I provided to them. Now, I stole that from CRS, right? I'm a CRS agent, which stands for Certified Residential Specialist. And we have I'm sure a lot of people in this room have letters after their names, right? And I used to think, like, you know, sometimes people don't care about that, right? It's nice that you've got all these designations and certifications. But I started to think, what does that mean to me? And it means compassion, responsibility, and service. So compassion, we need to be nicer to each other in this industry, right? Don't you think?
Yes.
It's too easy to get upset with the other person on the other end of the transaction, or even our clients, right? When they call and they cancel on us and they throw our schedules into disarray. But what I realize is that we just need to be more compassionate to others. And we have a responsibility as agents. We have a force that is binding us to our clients to find them a property, to change their lives, right? And we provide a very necessary service, and especially to the people that need us the most. So in a crowd of people, if I showed you this graphic, you could easily pick out the person that is a special needs person in this graphic, right? But what you might not see is someone like this, who would represent my daughter, right, who has autism. If my daughter was here in the room and you saw her, you would think she is a typical child, that she didn't have an issue, until you engaged with her. And then you realize that she's not looking at you, and she's distracted with her iPad and other things. Or you might not notice the couple who are dealing with an elderly parent, or someone in their family at home that needs their help. So I wanted to illustrate, here's another special needs client. This is Ethel, who was 102 years old when I helped her sell her home. And that is her daughter, Joy, who is 82. And the funny story about this is, so Joy called me first, and she said, you came recommended, I'd like you to help me sell my home. I'm like, great. So we sold her home, and by the way, her home, it was unbelievable. When I stepped into the home, it was like I stepped into a time warp. It was like 1975, right? Yeah, you recognize the carpet, you recognize the drapes, the doilies, everything. So I helped her sell her home. It went really, really well. And we parted ways. She wrote me a nice review. Everything was great. And then like a month later, she called me back and she said, I've got another referral for you. And I was like, oh, great. Who is it? She goes, my mother. Like your mother. Then I met Ethel, who was 102. So, And then this is Marty and Molly, and their daughters Margaret and Libby. And so Margaret has cerebral palsy. I'll tell you a quick story about them. So I found them a home early on when Margaret was younger. And it was in the DC area, we have basements, and we have like generally 1 or 2 story homes, ramblers, rangers, whatever you call them. And then they had bought a 2-story home above grade, and then a basement. And all the bedrooms were upstairs. So when Margaret was younger, it was fine having the bedroom upstairs, right? When the caregivers would come, they would want to be in the living room downstairs. Molly, who probably weighed like 90 pounds soaking wet, would like pick up her daughter and carry her down the stairs so that she could have her therapy downstairs. Well, after a couple of years, they called me up and they said, our house isn't quite working for us anymore. We think we want to put an addition on it. And can you come and talk to us about it? So I did, and I looked at their house, and I said, I don't think an addition's going to work, because, not that it wouldn't work, but it's going to cost you a lot of money, right? You're going to over-improve the house for the neighborhood. It's going to be perfect for what you want, but you're going to spend too much money. I said, let's find you another house. So I had found them an amazing house. It was like a 1-level house. It had all kinds of perfect setup for their daughter. And so I took them out to see it, and the husband loved it. Molly said, I don't like it. And I said, really? What don't you like about it? She goes, I don't know, I'm just not getting that like kind of warm, fuzzy feeling about the house, right? I was like, all right, so and by the way, it was off market too. It was one of those situations where we were the only people to see it, right? So I was like, darn it, I really wanted them to like this house. Anyway, I gave them a little bit of time to think about it. And then they kind of came around and they said, all right, we think we want to buy the house. So they bought the house, we went to settlement, and the day we were at the settlement table, I looked over at Molly and she was crying. Oh boy. That was one of those situations where I thought, as a realtor, what did I just do, right? I was waiting for my mother to tell me, you did something bad here. But anyway, Molly said, no, I'm emotional about it. I'll get over it. It'll be fine or whatever. And she said, I already miss our old house. I'm like, oh, darn it. I didn't want to have to hear that, right? So they moved in. I gave them a little bit of time. And they invited me over about 6 months later. And boy, when I walked in, it was great. Like, the living room setup was perfect. Their caregiver was there with their daughter. They had like their bedroom on the main level. They had room for their family members to come and visit on the main level. And they were a family that was, really loving their new house. And so I said to Molly, I kind of broke the ice and said, well, are you okay with this house now? I mean, if you're not, I can go knock on the door of the people that bought your house and we can get you that house back. And she said, hell no, I'm not going back to that house. So trust your instincts, right? Because I think as a parent of a child with autism, I live in a bubble of a world, right? Sometimes it's hard for me to see the outside looking in, the way people view us, right? But as agents, we're the experts in what we do. We can see things that might be perfect for our clients. So trust your instincts on that. So again, special needs means something different to everyone. The illustration here is some disabilities are easy to spot, some are not. And disability, again, impacts all of us. One of the things that I noticed was that I didn't set out to solely help people with disabilities, and that's not what I do. I don't even market myself as a disability agent, right? I mean, I do put out there that I speak on it, things like that. And some people do seek me out for that. But what I was finding is that I was just organically getting more and more clients that had disabilities or special needs. I'm like, how is this happening? Well, the reason it's happening is because 1 in 4 adults in the United States have a disability, right? It's like you can't avoid it. You're going to run into clients that have a disability or a special need. And it's becoming more and more prevalent. So 2 in 5 adults age 65 and older have a disability, 1 in 4 women have a disability, 2 in 5 non-Hispanic American Indians or Alaska Natives have a disability. Leave that up for a second. Okay. And then if you look at the functional disability types, you can see a lot of it is mobility, cognition, independent living, hearing, and independent living is what Vinny's company and Mike's company are experts at, right? We need more people like them, don't you think? Yes. Right, they provide a very, very valuable service. And it's going to become more prevalent. So we are tasked with helping our clients reach their goal. Now, I know we are a very transactional type of business, right? People come to us, they want us to find a house, we put a check in the box, and we move on and go to the next person, right? But think about how you can help people. Now, as agents, we sometimes are tasked with wearing a lot of different hats, right? Sometimes they want us to be handymen, they want us to find the best painter, or floor person, or plumber, and sometimes, even as an agent, we're supposed to be magicians, right? And my favorite one is when you've got a client that says, "Can you make the neighbor's house disappear?" Right? Ever had a listing like that where you got a beautiful listing and that's the neighbor's house? One thing we are not, though, are doctors. Now, I bring that up because many times as agents, we're supposed to have all the answers, right? We're supposed to find the painter, the handyman, whatever. But I have been in transactions before where the agent on the other side says, "Oh, your client has cerebral palsy, your client has autism, I know somebody," right? Stop doing that. Don't do that, right? Because we're not doctors. We're not there to cure all their ills. We're not there to cure their kids. We're not there to, make sure that their parents walk again, right? All we're trying to do is help them find a house. And the beauty of what we do and helping clients with special needs is it's not a heavy lift, right? I'll show you what I mean. That's what I mean. I'll do that one more time. It's really not a heavy lift because sometimes it looks like it is, but it's not. I'll look at the end. She's like, yeah. Okay. And what I mean by that is, so normally I do a talk on special needs and it's long. It's a 3-hour CE. We're not going to keep you here for 3 hours today, don't worry. But what I did is I tried to boil it down to sort of a David Letterman's top 10 list of things that will help you, right? So one is improve your situational awareness. Now, what I mean by that is my daughter having autism, sometimes she has a very bad day and it can come on really quick, right? So we'll have plans. My wife will say, "I booked that great restaurant that you love, your favorite restaurant in DC. We're going out tonight. We're gonna get dressed up." We get all dressed up and we're going out the door. And all of a sudden, our daughter has a meltdown, right? You're gonna have clients that happens to too. You're gonna have clients that will cancel on you at the last minute. Don't take it personally. It's not you, it's them. It's the situation that they're facing that day. Just improve your situational awareness. Try to keep your eyes on your client and see what kind of visual feedback that you're getting from them about how you can help them. And if it means stopping the showing and moving on, then that's what you have to do. Recognize needs versus wants. Now what I mean by this is going back to Julia and Corey. When I asked them, I didn't tell you this one tidbit of information. So when they were telling me all the things that they wanted, Julia kept going and kept going. And she said, I said, "Well, what type of house do you envision yourself in, right?" And she said, "Well, we just stayed at a Ritz-Carlton, and they had these double grand staircases coming in, and they had this amazing visual that I was feeding into." I was like, "I know exactly what you're talking about." But you know what? That's what you want, but that's not what you need, right? You don't need a double staircase. So think about needs versus wants. Have patience and take your time. People will appreciate you for it. More often than not, they don't want to be rushed anyway. It's a very emotional decision for a lot of clients. They want to know that you're not rushing them, that you're taking your time, and that you're having patience with them. It goes a long way. Give the appearance that you are treating them like every other client, right? But do more. The one thing that I will tell you from experience is, so my wife and I will have to hire a nanny for our child every once in a while, and we go through nannies like underwear sometimes. Tough, right? And it's a tough job. It's not that we're tough on them, it's because it's tough. And a lot of people are kind of cut out for the work, and some people are not. And that's not a knock on them at all. Believe me, we appreciate anyone that wants to give this kind of service to someone with special needs. But at the core of it, special needs clients or people with disabilities want to be treated like normal people. They don't want to feel like you're pandering to them, that you're treating them different. And as part of my longer presentation, one of the things I did is I interviewed an agent who's disabled herself. And she had a lot of really great feedback to say, just working, like being an agent in this industry and working, sometimes she gets looked at differently too, right? And she said, you know, I'm just an agent like everybody else, right? Treat me as such. So consider the adaptability. That goes back to the Molly and Marty story with their daughter Margaret. You know, when I first got into this and I was working with clients that had physical disabilities, I wasn't thinking 5 years ahead. You know, I thought, well, when they need a new house, they'll just call me. But if I had thought about it, maybe I wouldn't have sold them that first house, right? I would have thought, like, you know, for the future, maybe this is a perfect house for you. We can stay here even longer than 5 years. I'd love to sell you 2 houses, but you might find the perfect house that's adaptable for them. Have meetings scheduled way in advance and be early to appointments. Now, I am guilty of this too, where, like, you know, I'm racing around, I don't have that CMA done, I don't have something that needed to be done that day, and I wind up showing up like 5 minutes late to an appointment. You don't want to do that for clients with special needs, because more often than not, they're going to get there early, right? And then if you're 5 minutes late, you're really like 20 minutes late, right? Because they're worried too. They're worried that they're going to show up and, you know, they want to first of all, they want to make a good impression on you that they're on time, but also they want to see, is there going to be a physical challenge for them to access the house, right? Focus on the future. Now, we talked about adaptability and thinking ahead, but what I mean by focus on the future too is, so Margaret, their daughter with cerebral palsy, sometimes would have the need to be near a hospital or near their doctor, right? And I never used to think about that. I just was focusing on the neighborhood or the school or whatever. And by the way, parents that have kids with autism, there are a lot of autism programs out in various neighborhoods too that people focus on. You don't have to be a specialist. You don't have to know everything, right? But you want to focus on the future. If a child is 3 years old and they're going to wind up going to preschool or elementary school, might be a good idea to say, you know, is there a school that I know about with a minimal amount of research that has an autism program nearby or something for them for a disability program? Again, be knowledgeable about schools, hospitals, community resources. One of the things I didn't realize is there is an app on your phone called Hospital Finder. It's pretty amazing, where you can download this, and when you're at a property, you can see where are the closest hospitals. You can even, on some of them, see which doctors have the residencies at the various hospitals nearby. So when I was out showing the second home to Molly and Marty and their daughter, I said, who's your doctor? And then we just plugged the doctor's name in. We said, oh, this house is like right in the same neighborhood as the hospital that serves this area. So you want to preview homes. So what I mean by that is you don't want to show up for the first time. Like if I had not previewed something with Juliet and Corey, it could have been a hot mess, right? I could have shown up and then found out like she couldn't even get a wheelchair in the door, because one of the things that Vinny told me is there are very few homes in the United States that are truly able to be, like what he said, rented for clients with disabilities, because they don't have 36-inch wide door frames and things. And I made a mistake one time showing up to a property where there was no way for the client to get in the door. Yeah, don't want to do that more than once. And last thing is be flexible and be yourself. Right? Think about like the best clients that you have that love you, right? You did an amazing job for them and they're like, they're shouting your name from the hilltops, right? And they're telling everybody about you. It's because of who you are, right? It's because not only the service you gave them and you found them a great home, but because they like you. They love you in some cases, right? They respect you for what you did for them. It's the same thing with these clients. Just know that you are making a difference in their lives. And that, I will say, when you wake up and you work with a client with special needs or disabilities, you picked a great day to be awesome. Because times, we love to say, I'm the #1 agent in the office, right? Or I've won this award, or whatever. Nobody cares about that stuff. Very few people do, right? But when you're helping a client with special needs, you picked a great day to be awesome. You know why? Because #1, the people that care the most about what you're doing, they're right there in the car.